The last knot that I want to show you today is what's called the sheet bend. We're going to do a single and a double sheet bend. What I do, and I'm going to use two pieces of cordage that are different colors so you can see this clearly. What I'm going to do is to make a bite in my rope, and I'm going to come up very similar to how we did in the thieves knot and come around. Now in the thieves knot, you remember we came back inside this piece of cordage. We're not going to do that this time. What we're going to do is come back through this loop that we made in the other piece of cordage and tie that off. This knot is used to tie two different sizes of cordage together. It makes a very good tie together if, for example, you're out of cordage and you have to add a piece in for an application. Let's do that again. I want to show you. You simply come through your loop, come around, and back through the loop that you made here and pull that tight. Now, people can use this in tarp applications. If you have mylar or a kind of tarp that's ripped up perhaps and you don't have a grommet on the end, you can actually use this, and I'm going to show you that application in a moment. But I want to show you a variation on this which I prefer, which is called the double sheet bend. In the double sheet bend, you do exactly the same thing. You come up and around the cordage, but go around the cordage again, and you'll see I've actually formed two loops now. And then I'm simply going to put my standing end, that tag end, through both pieces and pull them tight. And you can see that that locks down a little bit tighter and is more secure in my personal belief. Now what I want to do is to show you how you'd use this with a piece of mylar, an emergency space blanket for example, or with a piece of a tarp that's ripped off and you have to adapt it to a piece of tarp. Or you could use it for two different size cordages. You could use it if you have to actually attach it to like a sheet, a mattress sheet or something that you would use out in the bush if you were making a seat. Now for this demonstration, I've just got a tent pole bag, and what you do is basically take the larger piece, this is the larger rope, the mylar, and you fold it in half, making your loop. You can see the loop here. You come up through the loop with your cordage, go around and back through this loop that you made, and to tighten it up, pull the bottom piece and snug them all up. Again, that makes a very strong knot. Now you see how that's slipping a little bit. That's the reason that I like to use a double, especially if I'm getting into larger material like this. What I'll do is I'll come around twice and make a double sheet bend, and that will stop any slippage that's in there. So I'm going to just put that through both loops, hold that tight, and pull that down, and you see how that locks down right around that cordage, and that won't slip. No matter how much pressure I put on that, that's not going to slip. That's a great way to tie off a piece. Imagine this is a piece of tarp that's shredded, or an emergency space blanket that I'm using for an application. I want to do one more knot for you today. This is a kind of a bonus knot on this video simply because we needed extra footage. We had to split. We were actually too long for the 10-minute segment, and so we had to split into another segment. So what I want to show you is how to shorten a piece of cordage. Say that I've got a 50-foot piece of cordage and I need to use 25 or 30 foot of it. I don't want to really cut my cordage. It's a bad idea to cut your cordage in the bush. So what I will do is make something called a sheep shank. Now this is like sheep, like the animal, and a shank, and what it does is shorten a piece of cordage for you. What you're going to basically do is to make 3 loops in your knot, in your cordage, and all the loops are going to go the same way. So I'm going to think of a cursive figure E here. I'm going to make a bigger one, and then I'm going to make another small one. Now what I'm going to do is to turn these loops against the bend. I don't want to tie it this way. You see that would just pull apart, but I'm going to continue to turn it over and pull this piece through. Go back here. Now I won't turn this one in, I'll turn this one over so it goes against the bend, and pull that through again, and then simply tighten it up. What I've effectively done there is taken a foot or so out of my cordage. And you can tie this as long or as short as you need it. And if you want this to be more permanent, you can throw a stick through these two loops so that they don't slip out, or carabiner or anything else. So let's go through that again. A good way to shorten a piece of rope. I'm going to make, and what I want to do here, let's see. I've got a piece of cordage here that's approximately 4 foot long. So let's make it so it's only 2 foot long. My center loop is what gives me how much length it is. And I'm going to simply pull some through. You see my center loop here is about 2 foot. I'm taking that 2 foot out. I turn this around and pull half of it through this way. Turn this in and pull half of it this way. And then I simply tighten my cordage. So now instead of a 4 foot piece of cordage, I have a 2 foot piece of cordage because I've made that sheep shank. Again, if you don't want these to come out, you can throw an overhand knot in here, square knot if you want to. Anything you want to do just to keep that in place. That way you can use your rope without having to cut it or shorten it. There's a lot of different ways of shortening your rope. As we saw the other day, you could simply take your cordage and roll it up and tie it off. But the easiest way is to use that sheep shank. Well, I hope you enjoyed these videos on knots so far. We've got at least one more section that we're going to do. I wanted to thank you all very much for your support that you've given us, and for the warm welcome that you've given us over on Dave Canterbury's channel. While we're here today, I want to take 1 minute to introduce my beautiful wife. This is my wife Tam, and I kind of like her. I'm David Wendell.
I'm Tam Wendell.
And we're Bushcraft on Fire. Look for some more videos coming soon, and we're going to put some up with Tam on the woman's way out in the wilderness as well. Thanks for being with us.
Bye.